podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello, Ed.
Gah. I'm feeling a bit bar humbug now.
I put my Christmas tree decorations up after the game, which has cheered me right up, to be honest.
I hate Christmas.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, love it.
Not as much as I hate José Mourinho, the cowardly coward that he is.
Who would have predicted, Ed, that out of the two of us, I love Christmas and you hate it? It'd been hard to second guess that, wouldn't it?
I don't hate Christmas. I mean, you know.
But you do hate José Mourinho. Are we Mourinho out, Ed? Is that what's happened?
No, I mean, because what the hell are United going to do? I just hate the way that we will never see United play really well in one of these big games.
I just want to say at this point,
while Mourinho's manager.
By the way, like everyone that's listening, just save your tweets. Like this is at least partially tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, there's not even a remote world that exists in which either of us would advocate right now for Mourinho to be removed as manager of Manchester United. So,
no, not removed so much as shot and then stamped on.
We've just was saying before we started recording, like I'll love him again by 10 o'clock on Wednesday night after we've beaten Bournemouth.
Yeah, well, after we battered Bournemouth, sure. It's just, I would like, and look, and fair enough, United did beat Arsenal a week ago, and we all enjoyed that, even though we conceded 5 XG. Or in other words, we should have lost by miles. And there will be other games in which United play well against one of the big six. But there just aren't very many. And at home against Manchester City, I guess we got what we expected, but it's just deeply disappointing that we barely were in the game. I mean, we scored because of 2 unbelievably bad errors. Just other than that, wouldn't have had a sniff.
I mean, City scored because of 2 unbelievably bad errors as well, to be fair.
This is true. But they did also create a number of good chances and had 75% of the possession.
Yes. Although I think they more had 75% of the possession than created loads of big chances, do you know what I'm saying? Like, they were better than us. They weren't all that. It was one of the things that was frustrating about it. Partly, I guess that was because we were relatively well organised in their final third, but it was just,
we played the way that West Ham played and Huddersfield played and a bunch of other small teams play against City. We're just better than those other teams. And Mourinho's good at organising his defence. And there'll be people listening to this and writing on Twitter, well, what else could we have done? But that's the kind of defeatism that I'm afraid we seem to have breeded since Fergie left. Yes, there were times when Ferguson parked the bus as well. Well, in every big game, it's really draining.
And when he did it against City in the season they won the league, we absolutely hammered him for it on this very podcast. So we're being consistent on that front, at least.
Well, look, that time that United lost 1-0 in that game in, what was it, the spring of 2012, right? Yeah. And it was cowardly tactics from Ferguson on that occasion. We get that almost every big game from Mourinho, though. That was like it was so stunning because it was so rare. And now it's the case. And the thing that's pissing me off, right, is not that I'm Mourinho out, or I don't think that Mourinho, United will probably finish second. But we may well win the League Cup and the FA Cup and probably not the Champions League, but you never know.
You were just going to rattle it off, weren't you? And then you're like, oh, no, wait a minute.
I was like, well,
it's a bit strong to say we are probably going to win the Champions League.
Yeah, it would be. But it could well win more silverware this season. That's what Mourinho does. But every single game of this nature, this is what's going to happen. And it just means it's really hard to enjoy these games. Really hard.
And I think if you're okay with that, then that's completely fine. Like, what I mean is, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, that's fine. That's a different strokes for different folks thing. One of my massive frustrations watching United play this way, because the team comes out and you're like, he's put Martial, Rashford, Lingard and Lukaku in this team. Clearly, this is set up for incisive counter-attacking football, not on the front foot attacking football, as I think some people read the lineup as a very, in quotes, attacking lineup. But it was a lineup set up to counter-attack. But we were so desperately inefficient on our use of the ball on the occasions which we recovered it. Like, okay, so the goal came from a very route one move, which you could say is a kind of, I don't know, some sort of justification for that means of playing. But they were you used the word cowardly about that Ferguson display. And this was cowardly. United were cowardly on the ball. They were just so reticent to ever pass the ball short. The City fans were singing Park the Bus, Man United, playing football the Mourinho way. And they were singing You're effing scared, I think, was the tune that was being sung to. And they were right. That's what was happening. United played scared in possession. And that was the most frustrating thing, because City on the counter-attack were vulnerable.
Yeah, but we barely ever saw it. I mean, they just lumped it forward, basically.
Exactly.
And it hit Romelu Lukaku and bounced off him, because he was awful. I'm not going to pick out just him, because like from 2 to 11, they were all pretty awful, weren't they? But even that tactic of just hoofing it forward didn't work, because it never stuck up front. So it just kept coming back all the time. And, there have been occasions when United have played this way and it's worked, right? That is, played deep and then launched it long. In the Europa League final, for example, where we also had 25% possession or something like that. And it worked then. But, I don't think City were ever in trouble, really. I mean, like a horrendous mistake from the diagonal, Otamendi and Delph. And you wouldn't expect that typically of those players. But apart from that, not too many chances for United. One that hit the goalkeeper in the face, no doubt will be claimed as the greatest save ever known to man.
It was a good double save. Especially his positioning for the second save that's good.
Well, he got up quickly, but he did go straight at him again. But he got up quickly. But apart from that, nothing really.
We do have to talk about Lukaku, because you say you don't necessarily want to single him out, and I know what you're saying, but last week you said you were worried about him. I was like, I'm not worried. Then he scored, and I was like, scored in the Champions League game. I was like, see, I was right. And then, that was a right old stinker. Like I said last week, I thought he was actually very good against both Watford and Arsenal. I thought his all-round play was really excellent. In this game, there was one nice touch in a counter-attacking move, and almost everything else he did just was awful. I mean, the mistake for the first goal was bad. The mistake for the second goal was. I mean, it can happen, right? And it's awful that it's happening to a player who's kind of struggling with his confidence, and the crowd are starting to get on his back a bit. Maybe, I don't know about in the ground because I wasn't there, but certainly social media was absolutely hammering him. And it's the worst time to make a mistake like that. But also, like in front of goal, just snatching at stuff. There was the one he blasted over the bar from the corner, and then there were the two.
Well, his right foot's a swinger. It's awful. I mean, he's pub level in terms of his control on his right foot, and then the one he smashed over the bar was on his right foot. Doesn't score too many with it either. So I don't know. It's just in this kind of game, he has many qualities with the ball in front of him. And he's much neater on the ball in certain scenarios, like when he's playing flicks and passes and stuff like that, than he is with the ball coming at him when he's going to bring other players into. That's just not his game. I mean, it would have almost been better to play Zlatan up there today if United are going to play like that and just launch it, or if United are going to play on the break, could have played Martial through the middle.
Yeah. I mean, heck of a call in terms of the long-term management of his career to to play someone else through the middle in this game, but I'm not saying.
Well, but the criticism of Lukaku is he's a flat track bully and doesn't do it in the big games. Unfortunately, that's kind of playing out. I really wish it wasn't true, and maybe it won't become true by the end of the season. But right now, and he's not helped, of course, by the fact that Mourinho is so deeply conservative in these big games. That he's mostly completely isolated. So, I feel sorry for him in the circumstances, but he's kind of, making the stereotype true of him, being not very neat on the ball and not great against better teams.
I mean, the one thing that this week I'll say in his defence, which is sort of a bit of a broader cultural point really about the way we experience football, is that he's been at Manchester United for 6 months. Did he come in June? I don't even know if he came in June. Maybe it's less than 6 months. And I don't mean you. I mean the general cultural context is a bit like people are ready to write him off and write off his United career in 6 months. One of the things I've seen loads of comparisons to Van Persie, who of course had an incredible impact when he arrived at United. But Van Persie's 3-year Manchester United career involved 2/3 of a good season.
No, I mean, I'm not writing him off, and
I know,
but
I
think
you're not.
Most of the things that were said about him before, and because he's been in the Premier League a long time, right? That were observable about him before he joined United have just become are true, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the first touch of the best strikers, right? He does some good things, but he doesn't. And in a game like that, we really needed it. And his performance is much higher, and his XG is much higher against lower-rated teams. And for a player of £75 million playing for Manchester United, we want a little bit more than that. So either United got to adapt and play for him, which means playing the ball through channels, getting the ball into wide areas, and not necessarily launching it long at him, and not expecting him to play with his back to goal all the time. It's not where he is superb, right? And the problem is he's been asked to play that quite a few times already.
And that's another thing, because there is a risk, and I am actually not saying this is what's happened, but there is a risk of confirmation bias, isn't there? We go, oh yeah, see, Lukaku can't do it in the big games after all. And I mean, I have to say, this particular game that we're talking about now, he just had a straight up stinker. Like, the team wasn't set up to his strengths, whatever. Everything he did was terrible, bar about 2 things all game. So that's something else. But generally, you buy a £75 million striker with a certain skill set and certain limitations, and then don't set up your team to get the best out of that. Then that becomes like, well, whose fault is that? Because there's no way anyone would ever convince me that Lukaku was like a Woodward signing. Do you know what I mean? That's like, Mourinho clearly wanted him. So what are we doing? What's he doing? Why are we playing the way we're playing, having spent 75 million on Lukaku?
Well, and the other way of thinking about this is that after spending about 700 million since Ferguson retired, you still haven't got a team that can pass to each other, apparently. Look, and I'm clearly being a bit facetious there. But man, we are so far behind City, and they weren't even that good today. Definitely played better this season. And this is just really worrying. It doesn't even look like I hate to say this, but Michael Owen on Premier League TV, which I get through a completely legal feed, honest, and he was saying after the match, he was asked after the match, a team's going to be able to claw back this 11-point gap, 11 points to United, 14 to Chelsea. And he said, no, it looks like they'll win the Premier League by 20-odd points. And right at the moment, he looks about right, doesn't he? I don't know why I had to use Michael Owen to make my point there. I should really regret that, and I do.
Good. Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's a very obvious point. You could have just made it yourself and claimed it as your own.
Really could have done. But look, it's in the history of the Premier League, I'm not sure the team has ever actually won the league by 20 points. United won it by a lot of points a couple of times. In fact, won it by, I'm going to say, something like 12 points in 2001, something like that, and lost a few games at the end of the season. So it would be pretty unprecedented for that to come true. But right now, it's hard to see outside of that. And that's kind of worrying after the amount of investment United have actually made over the last sort of 3 years.
Well, there's a couple of points. Firstly, I don't think City will win the league by 20 points because I think we will continue, as we've done all season, to amass tons of points. And they will presumably not amass points at the rate of whatever their current average is, which is very, very slightly under 3 points a game, because they've got one Premier League draw, right? And they've won every other game. Presumably the second half of the season is not going to follow exactly that pattern. And if it does, then they're a historic team. And that sort of brings me to the other point where I don't fundamentally disagree with what you're saying, but just that the idea that they're so far ahead of us with the level of investment that we've made, well, partly that's because they've made even more investment, right?
Yeah, true. Although that's if that were the case, teams like Bournemouth and Burnley and so on would finish the season on about 4 points, right? So, unfortunately, there are diminishing returns, right? So, and always has been in football. So, sure, I'm not sure I can fully agree with that. I'm just like the frustration is that we can't even blame the Glazers for this, right? We can blame incompetence in management and some bad purchasing for sure. But we're also we're going further away. They are going further away, and we're supposed to have one of the world's top managers who has been afforded plenty of money to invest in the team, and there's loads of stuff wrong with it still. And it's a frustration.
Okay, so this is a thought exercise, which is also kind of frustrating. I know you're not necessarily a big fan of hypothetical thought exercises, but Mourinho takes the City job at the beginning of last season, Guardiola takes the United job at the beginning of last season, or even both managers are in charge of the current squads as they stand this season. Where are the positions between the two? Are they closer than they are? Are City still even ahead? Is Guardiola the key differential here?
I don't know whether that's true, because look at the amount of silverware that Mourinho's amassed over the years, right? It's not like he's short on winning stuff.
Of course not.
What he's short on is playing a certain way. Guardiola definitely gets his teams to play with a kind of special secret sauce that Mourinho hasn't got. That's not quite the question you asked, right? So I don't know whether that would be the case or not. City, man for man, have a better squad than United at the moment, and let's just assume Mourinho's top manager. The extra frustration of being behind, though, is the way in which we're doing it. This is not going out there and standing toe to toe. And I'm sorry, I cannot accept the argument that people make that, oh well, if we do that, we're going to get battered. Seriously? It's Manchester United. Mourinho says he's a top manager. He's had loads of money to invest.
But Mourinho says he's a top manager. I completely agree, by the way. The only thing is Mourinho's version of being a top manager includes playing like this. That's, stylistically playing like this. That's part of what he's been all along. So that part. But the bit that I do agree is, even if we'd got hammered by City, if we'd played a bit more with a bit more purpose and intent especially against Liverpool, and then I know we bang on about this all the time, but so far this season we've won every game except for a stupid draw at Stoke, which was a sort of strange result. Not too much to read into that one, I don't think. Then, draw with Liverpool, incredibly frustrating. That loss to Huddersfield, which felt so much like it just grew out of that Anfield draw. Then the loss to Chelsea, and now this loss to City. And that's not, in the course of a normal Premier League season, that isn't like a disastrous series of results, but I don't even know what point I'm making. I don't know.
I think you said we'd won every game except for the five games we've lost and the 2 we've drawn. Apart from that, what did the Romans ever do for us?
It's 3 games we've lost, right? We lost to Huddersfield, Chelsea, and City
in the Premier League.
Yeah. Well, what other game? Oh, we lost that game that really didn't matter when we already had 12 points in the.
We lost to Basel and we lost to Real Madrid. Unless you're not counting that one.
I am absolutely not counting that one.
Would have counted if we'd won it, though.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, generally, we're second in the league, on course for a pretty decent points total in the Premier League. So it's not like we're losing every week,
sure, it's, but who's making that argument? No one's making that argument.
No one. I'm just.
What we're saying is we just got battered by City, and we got battered, and we, the ship sank, and we didn't even bother to try and get off.
And I think I'm basically agreeing that the thing that is frustrating here is that it is these performances in these big games where he surrenders intent that are really costing us. So Huddersfield is the only exception to that pattern of games where we've suffered. And that came right off the back of the first time we really did that this season. And the thing that really gets my gall watching this from a distance is that so much of this is like one of Mourinho's defenders' big arguments is that in those games, Liverpool and City in particular, you could say there were individual performances which really cost United in terms of the game plan. So it's really bad counter-attacking, really wasteful in a way that ran counter to Mourinho's plan. But my argument against this Manchester United team is a team that needs its psychological, its self-belief rebuilding. This is the primary problem with the players, not the there's a problem with Mourinho's tactics and all that kind of stuff, but the players' individual performances, it's so evident that they've developed an inferiority complex over the last few years, and this game was such evidence of that. In fact, we've had a question about this from @PK1 who says, do United players think they're not good enough, or is it a tactic where you hoof it anywhere quickly in these big games against big teams? Serious lack of quality and ball retention. And I think it's a tactic which makes the United players feel not good enough. When City fans are singing "You're scared, park the bus, Man United," you could just feel the team shrink in that game. The same against Liverpool, which had the knock-on against Huddersfield. It's maddening.
Yeah, I agree. It is completely maddening. And, I guess it would be fair for everyone to point out that we knew this was coming, right? It's Mourinho. This is what he does. And he went to the press conference after the game and said City were lucky. And he's the Donald Trump of football management. He's just going to keep lying to our faces and, braving it out. And we're going to keep getting these performances in these big games, and it's going to be deeply frustrating. Average points is great at the moment. United are on course to get something like 83 points. 83 points would almost certainly get second. Not every season, but I think probably this season, where there's much of a muchness below City. City are on course to get over 90 points, or probably 100 or something. I don't know, and which would be pretty unprecedented. But sure, United results aren't terrible. There are a few games like this, like Arsenal, like Liverpool. Funnily enough, away at Southampton or whatever it was, maybe that was last season, in which it drives you absolutely bonkers because there's enough quality in that team that they don't need to play this way.
It's funny how somehow Man United's relationship with Arsenal is such that this doesn't affect them. Like, maybe it was just that we scored 2 goals early and so the confidence was there, but this kind of massive diminishment in quality, like those every one of those players in the United team, apart from De Gea, played at less than their peak ability in that game. I don't know, maybe Chris Smalling played at about his peak ability, but everyone else...
Oh, man. That's a harsh game. Did he have a bad game?
No, that's what I'm saying. So maybe that's exactly that. Maybe he played close to his peak ability, but the rest of them, is there another player? And Matic didn't really do much wrong that I saw, but I was drifting out of periods of that game. But yeah, as a collective, they're playing vastly below each of their individual potential, even executing that game plan. Because this is the thing that's different. So if Mourinho's first Chelsea side in particular. That feels like I don't really know as much about the Inter team or the Madrid teams, didn't follow it as closely, but that first Chelsea side would have run through walls for Mourinho. They all felt they were a foot taller on the pitch playing for Mourinho than they had done playing for other managers. This United side, as soon as you ask them to park the bus, immediately shrink a foot. Now, and it's almost institutionalised now. 4 years since Ferguson left, 4.5 years since Ferguson left, and you had David Moyes in there to all the confidence up, and Van Gaal to reinforce that. And now every time United play a team that's better, Mourinho goes, actually, you're not good enough to face this lot. You better defend. And I don't think he knows that that's what he's doing. I think what he thinks he's doing is this is the best way over the course of a league season to win the league by playing like this against other teams. Because this isn't new. He's always done this everywhere he's ever been. So, it's just at Madrid, there was only one big game every season, right?
Two plus a couple of Champions League games when they fight each other as well. Look, a few details to talk about in this game because we haven't really.
Yeah.
So, and a few interesting refereeing decisions as well to talk about. So, what can we talk about? We can talk about United's goal. Nice finish from Rashford. Extremely composed when he got the chance.
Yeah.
Pretty lucky to get it, but
2-2.
Got there. Good. That was good.
2-2 for young
Rash. There was a booking for diving for Ander Herrera, which was, I'd say, a little on the harsh side, given that there was actually contact. I mean, he was definitely looking for it.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know what the law is or how it's supposed to be interpreted, but he definitely dived. There's no way what happened to his foot would have made him do what he did.
No, but I mean, if you don't do that, you don't get a penalty. So the players are incentivised to do exactly that, all of them, 99% of them. Yeah. Even clearer dive was Gabriel Jesus, which the referee didn't give and didn't book him for.
Yeah, very, very strange. I just think that referee's not very good. I'm not a ref expert.
I wonder whether the referee will look at that one because he wasn't even near to being tripped, and he, they have this retrospective punishment for diving now. Seems like an obvious one.
There was a moment when David Silva absolutely clattered Herrera, and because Matic had the ball, the ref played advantage, and then Matic was fouled, kept the ball, and got advantage. But United had no advantage from that possession. It was a very strange decision, I thought.
Yeah, it was almost 2 bookings in 2 tackles from David Silva. Not like him, really.
Well, it is. He's well snide. He just is. He's just because he's like a little magician and all that, and he is well snidey.
2 City goals, absolutely horrendous. First one off a set piece. Seriously, not a single United player attacking that ball. And then the second one, horrendous on Romelu Lukaku's swinger.
Yeah, just really unfortunate, really, in the context of everything that's been going on, particularly unfortunate. And also we'd been gifted away back in that game, and actually started quite brightly in the second half, Martial running at players, and Lingard looking like he might be, there was a bit of purpose to United in the beginning of the second half, and it just all went away after that goal.
It did.
A question from @Benny Hudson, friend of the show. As if Pogba was stood in the centre circle watching the ball be hoofed over his head again and again and then bouncing back towards our defenders over his head, would we have won?
Yeah. Well, I wonder whether United had played slightly differently, at least been more effective in bridging the gap between defence and attack.
Well, given that, we had to go at Romelu Lukaku's performance, another player who I'm extremely fond of, who has not played well. He's played well once all season, and that was in an easy game, is Ander Herrera, who had yet another stinker to add to his growing list of absolute stinkers for United this season.
Yeah, at least he put his foot about a little bit. He didn't have a great game, but he was, at least trying to kick a few.
I'm talking about
give him that. One player I might absent from too much criticism is José Lingard, because he didn't really do anything effective going forward. But fucking hell, he didn't half run at least. Everyone else shrunk into themselves, and he was giving it a go. Not that really is all that much. It's kind of the least you'd expect. I don't know whether you saw
he definitely did
Eric
but
Cantona's Commissioner of Football series on ESPN, I think it is.
Yeah.
Eurosport. Whatever, one of those. It begins with an E and there's sport in there.
Yeah. So, it's got an S.
See, close. It was close. It was close.
I
did think that was kind of
absolutely.
funny and kind of summed up this debate, didn't it? One side my heart is and will forever be beating United. On the other side, there's this bald guy whose vision of total football gives me a hard on.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. I want to come back to Herrera because the reason that I brought him up is just that. To Benny's point, I think Pogba would have done a better job than Herrera did in that game. So there would have been more chance of an incisive counter-attack if Pogba had been on the pitch. In the Europa League final, which you mentioned, the aforementioned Europa League final, Pogba was really good in telling moments on the ball, made a big difference. So I actually...
and he's a good player, but these kind of ifs, what football's all about, because it's always small margins at the top.
If only the snow that had fallen in Birmingham had fallen in Manchester, and the game would have been postponed till April when Pogba would have been available.
If only.
Yeah.
Pretty desperate, isn't it, that if?
Yeah. Talking of snow, Moscow, they came, we beat them. We dominated the first half, didn't take chances. They scored a weird scrappy goal at the end that no one expected. And then a nice little comeback, nice little spirited comeback goal from Lukaku, which was obviously badly needed. And that was a nice goal, and a nice goal from Rashford as well, meaning he has two in two.
And he needed that because that was his first in 10 or something like that for Rashford.
Yeah. Are you worried about that, Ed? Are you worried about that strike rate?
Well, yeah. He's not the player that United fans expected him to be.
Just want to be abundantly clear. Just don't. That literally was a joke, people. It was literally a joke.
Deep insider joke, that one. Well, a little bit, but of course he barely gets a game up front. So,
I mean,
but a little bit generally worried about United in these big games.
Yeah.
With so much attacking talent there, and it's just not being utilised.
No, it's a real shame, and I just don't know. It's not going to change. So some of these games, the plan will work. The players will execute the plan. Maybe somehow Mourinho will get through to the players that this doesn't mean he doesn't think they're good. It's just his philosophy, and we'll win a couple of these, but. Generally speaking, I think we're going to lose or draw more or less every time we try and play like this.
Yeah, great. Let's take some Twitter questions. I'm feeling thoroughly depressed.
Would £1 billion be too much to pay for Antoine Griezmann, says Rory Murph one?
Yes, it would, because you could probably get 10 Antoine Griezmanns for that. But if someone's ponying up £1 billion for players, great.
I'm not sure having Antoine Griezmann in the side would have made a great deal of difference in that game either, unfortunately. Maybe it would. Big ifs, as you said. 99, it went boom. Says, when was the last time we played well in a derby match in the league? In Van Gaal's first season at home, we played amazing. I can't remember the game in the second season, but that's why, because it was a terrible either 0-0 or 1-1 draw. But in the first season, when we won 4-2, we were absolutely brilliant in that game.
Awesome.
How did we do last season? I can't even remember. What did we do against City last season?
Won a League Cup game.
Oh, yeah, against their second string. We lost 2-1. Zlatan, Claudio Bravo, Wayne Rooney should have had a penalty, all that stuff. I remember.
All of that.
At Sev the Panda says, it's not that bad, #Rankcast. No, you're right. It's not. We are definitely, but we're very likely to finish second in the league, which is a massive improvement on anything in the post-Ferguson era, like a massive improvement. Best we finished was scraping fourth place after a very, very average season for most of the season in that first Van Gaal term, but otherwise it was 7th, 4th, 5th, 6th. So second is a huge improvement. But like Ed's been saying, like we've both been saying, it's just frustrating the manner in which these big games are being addressed.
Yeah.
At Werner Dale says, which jam do you use to make a perfect peanut butter and jam sandwich?
See, I'm not a big fan of peanut butter, so I don't. Although my little one, the middle one, the 4-year-old, he likes strawberry jam with his peanut butter.
Okay. Do you like jam generally?
Yeah. I mean, I don't tend to eat a lot of toast, so
okay.
Yeah, I do.
If you had a piece of toast and you could put anything on it, what would you put on it?
Some jam. I don't know.
What flavour though? Like
bit of cheese.
Bit of cheese.
What flavour jam?
Good.
What flavour jam? Maybe a raspberry jam. Although you get those little things in your middle of your teeth, then don't you?
Exactly what I was going to say. If it was just about taste, even especially I do like peanut butter. The peanut butter jam thing. If it was just about taste, I would have raspberry jam every time because it's got, especially with peanut butter, it's got a lovely kind of tart, sweet combination with the salty peanut butter. Perfect. But the bits, they're just no good. At Lincoln Nation says, how do you cope up with the Derby loss? And he's got a gif of somebody crying.
Well, mainly by recording my thoughts on this here podcast.
What I'd recommend is get a podcast. That'd be what I recommend because it definitely helps. Oh, here's a nice cheery question. At Mavivek says, what do you think is the best Man United moment of 2017? We're in year-end time, so get a bit of advanced thinking on that. Best United moment of the year.
Well, lifting the Europa League was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a strange thing though because of what happened in Manchester. Everything was so sad at that time. It was a kind of bittersweet quality because it's amazing that United had done it and it sort of felt. I mean, this is totally irrelevant, really, but it felt right. I can't put it any more eloquently than that. I really, really, really enjoyed it when this season started with such a bang. And Pogba just was amazing straight off the bat. Martial's been brilliant every time he's played. Like that part of this season I really enjoyed. But I guess the Europa League. Zlatan's header to win the League Cup was pretty great as well. Pretty game moment.
It's going to have to be those kind of moments with Mourinho.
Yeah.
You know.
Talking of which, at Soundbloke says, Mourinho, name a single redeeming quality, trait or attribute. Go.
Well, he hoovers up trophies.
Yeah.
That's it, really, isn't it? He's an absolute shit of a human being who plays this dirty, dirty anti-football whenever the big games come round.
The other
was right.
The other redeeming quality, of course, is that we've played loads of lovely football against small teams and smashed them all like the chumps they are. I don't really mean that part. There's a question about players we're going to sign in January, but I can't face it, Mars. I'm sorry.
The club have already let it be known there isn't the money to be spending big in January. That's why they're trying to flog Luke Shaw all over Europe at the moment.
I thought, he was really good in the Moscow game. That's something we should say.
Yeah, he had a good game. And, he wasn't outstanding, but I thought, promising signs, especially for a player who's barely played in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and he looked like a player who, if he continued that level of improvement, could be a big asset. But I suspect he won't be a United player for too much longer.
At Lloyd Stokes LLO1, didn't Guncan Castle say we had 90 million to spend in January?
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Everyone else is saying there's nothing in the kitty.
Yeah, well, interesting.
If that sort of big dunk says that, must be true.
At Lloyd Stokes LLO1 says, favourite Man United in the snow memory. I just had a vision of an orange ball and the snow and the 1980s, but I couldn't tell you what game it was from. It just felt nice in my tummy thinking about it.
Don't get enough games in the snow anymore. Now they all have undersoil heating and, fancy covers and all that kind of stuff.
The game that always, I must have talked about this on the podcast before, but the game that always pops into my head when I think of games in the snow is a game where Chelsea played Tromsø. And for some reason, that game is plugged into my brain in this incredibly intense nostalgic way. I don't know why, but thinking about that game makes me feel really warm. There's something about the orange ball on the snow. It's big. At Atishay_J, this is a question for you, Ed. What do you prefer a manager dressed up like? In a suit, a tracksuit, or hoodie avatars of hipster football managers?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not sure. I'm one for the roll neck. I think a roll neck has a certain time and a place, and it's typically in some ridiculously fancy coffee shop in Silicon Valley. Not on a football field. I think a smart club suit is about right for a manager. They have to. They stand out.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm not sure I'm a big fan of Mourinho's sort of puffy coat.
I like it.
It's a club coat, isn't it?
I like it. It's got a slightly Gallagher feel, ironically, given he had there's a redeeming quality of José Mourinho. He had an excellent pop at Noel Gallagher this week when Gallagher was invited to be a pundit on Sky Sports, and Mourinho said if I was invited to be a pundit on Eurovision, I would turn it down, which was good. I thought it was good. I was pleased about that one. Who would have thought that Liam Gallagher would clearly be the best Gallagher brother by the year 2017? No one would have predicted that, but it's clearly the case that Liam is the sound one. Honestly, that is massively shocking, that is. Just shows how people can change.
I think the only good Gallagher is a Gallagher that's neither seen nor heard, personally.
Ed, come on. You can't really believe that. Is that how much of an old man you've become? And you're like, oh, these young people with their parkas.
I don't think he's a young person.
No, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
At Big Shimmery Wall, another music-related question. De La Soul or Tribe Called Quest, show your workings. Well, slightly, I think, a bit controversially. For me, it's not even close. It's De La Soul by miles. My workings are, I think they moved from that kind of late 80s, quite like almost Run DMC kind of flow, very on the beat. De La Soul kind of adapted and grew. Every De La Soul album was a kind of ventured into another direction, and I think I like their flow, but I just don't really like Q-Tip as an MC, which I know is not a popular opinion, but there you go. I mean, I don't not like him, I just don't like him as much. All right, I don't understand this question. Maybe you will. At Ryan X Clark says, is Mourinho doing to Lukaku what he did to Pogba last season?
What did he do to Pogba last season?
Okay, you don't understand it either. Ryan, get back to us for next week. We'll discuss this one again. At Tom_Byfield says, did you guys get to hear any of the brilliantly entertaining Eric Cantona interviews last week? If you could ask Eric one question, what would it be? I did ask Eric a question by proxy on the Full-Time Devils interview with him. I asked him what his favourite cartoon was from his book, and he said he loves all his children equally, essentially. But that's not the one question I'd ask him if I got to actually ask it myself. But I don't know what it is. It'd be about football. It'd be about his relationship with Fergie, I think. I'd just like to hear him talk about that. But mostly I didn't listen to those interviews generally because I tried to get one for the podcast and we didn't, so I was bitter.
Yeah. Screw you, Eric.
No, take it back. Take it back, Ed. It's blasphemy. All right, last question. From @IronBruiser. Great username. What a good username that is. Would you rather wear 2 right shoes or 2 left shoes?
I really don't care. It'd be pretty uncomfortable either way. But if you had 2 of each, I mean, there's an obvious solution for you here.
And then Ed, did you? Oh, this is actually the last question from @Zavvehi. He says, whiskey or beer as opposed to that drink, that being the derby.
Well, yeah, I hit the whiskey. Nice to live it in the house.
He also said for Paul, same question, but I did indeed stick with the water. So, previews of upcoming games. I've lost all the enthusiasm in my heart for doing this, mostly because of that game, and also we need to do something to reinvigorate our previews, Ed.
All right, well, let's talk Bournemouth then.
Okay,
because I played Bournemouth midweek. To which United is still trying to sell tickets. I do hope this is not a not sellout and we suddenly become City with empty seats. I'm sure that's not the case. Bournemouth beat Newcastle, Huddersfield Town, and then drew with Swansea and lost to Burnley and then drew with Palace at the weekend. So mixed month or so, but they're doing all right.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't think that they represent anything like a serious threat to United unless United somehow conspire to be terrible again. And Pogba's not there, so it is possible we will conspire to be terrible again. But
do you think he'll shake things up, given post City, he said they've only won because they're lucky, which, maybe for Mourinho, sorry to go backwards when we're previewing the next game, maybe for Mourinho genuinely believes that because take away the 2 set pieces from which they scored, and the XG is going to be less than 1. So maybe he's right. Anyway, do you think he'll change things up post City?
City were definitely lucky because we were absolutely diabolical, and it's quite good fortune to come across the second best team in the country when they're in terrible form without their best player. But anyway, that's a ridiculous point. He's not going to change it up much, is he? I can't see him going to 3 at the back necessarily. That's an interesting question, actually. Do you think he'd have been better off trying to do what he did in this game with 3 at the back in the City game?
It's interesting because most of the time he's tried to park the bus, he's gone to 3 at the back, hasn't he? And he changed it up because I presume he was always planning to go kind of direct and long and try and get into the spaces behind City's fullbacks.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do. And it wasn't even close to being effective.
No. And I'm sorry, we really are just going back over the same ground. But this is where I do have a shred of, well, actually, Mourinho did set up a game plan, which his players were unable to execute.
He's the coach.
But this is the thing. Like, part of the problem is...
He's been in the job 18 months, so I'm not accepting that. Anyway, let's talk about Bournemouth. Kind of entertaining draw, I thought, at Palace at the weekend.
Eddie Howe, a young English manager, the only one that is allowed. He's allowed to keep his job, which is nice, and he has done an absolutely incredible job at Bournemouth. There's, when you go there, it's such a this is not a Premier League club. Nothing about Bournemouth is Premier League in size and scope, and yet, I mean, I guess they got some pretty big funding, didn't they, from I believe a Russian investor. But apart from that, there's nothing about this club that should be where it is, and Howe has continually navigated what are very challenging and choppy waters to bring them from where he has to where they are.
Yeah, I thought they were the better side at the weekend. Played pretty effectively on the ground. I mean, Palace had a lot of chances, didn't they? But they've got some good players as well. They play nice football. They are not conceding as many goals as they did last season. They do have negative goal difference, but it's not like minus double figures yet. And by the looks of it, they'll be perfectly safe in the Premier League again, which, given the size of their stadium and their revenue and stuff, is pretty amazing. Although, this is what the massive amounts of revenue in the Premier League can do. If you can survive that first season, you suddenly have a £60 million bump on all the teams coming up from the Championship.
I guess that one of the interesting things is that it's not like they're going to be massively gung-ho against us, but it seems unlikely that they will hugely park the bus, that and put 10 men behind the ball all the way through, although it sort of did that a bit last season. I think I was at that game, but I'm really struggling to remember anything salient about it. Of course, the season before with Bournemouth was the ill-fated game that didn't happen. But so I don't think they're going to park the bus massively because they just don't. And so that should benefit us a little bit because I feel like obviously that United need space to operate in, and they've got players who can be devastating in space. You asked ages ago if I think Mourinho's going to mix it up. I mean, one of the things is how really can he mix it up? I mean, he could drop Lukaku, play Zlatan, maybe. I don't know whether I necessarily think that's a brilliant idea at this point.
Not against Bournemouth, no.
Yeah, exactly. We want the flat track bully to start to kind of get some confidence back. I wonder whether Mkhitaryan, who wasn't even in the squad against City, will be in consideration. Mata again, played a little bit right at the end of that game.
Has Mkhitaryan been ostracised enough yet that he's allowed to come back?
I don't know. The punishment beatings will continue.
Fellaini not even on the bench today, interestingly enough.
Presumably that must be injury related, because there's absolutely no way Mourinho would go into that game without Fellaini on the bench.
Would be interesting if it wasn't McTominay. No, I mean, what am I talking about? He's got to be injury related. Unless he's that impressed. And I have to say, we didn't really talk much about CSK Moscow, but I thought McTominay came on and did well again. He looks like a player who could adjust to the Premier League.
I mean, I completely and utterly agree. And it's interesting because I think I've mentioned this before, but he's very much a late bloomer, isn't he? In that team, he's not the one that anyone really would have picked out as ready for Premier League action sort of thing in the last couple of seasons. Tuanzebe, though, who clearly is, also featured in that game. Not from the start, but he got a good chunk. I think maybe Mourinho brought him on the minute we went ahead or something, which was quite nice.
Yeah, I kind of thought he might play a bit more. He's barely playing a game. He would be better doing what a number of other sort of players from United have done and get some time on loan. I mean, you look at Fosu Mensah, he's playing every game for Palace at the moment.
I wonder whether that's just the plan for next season, and he's having, because this season was last season. Fosu Mensah was doing what Tuanzebe is doing this season, basically. So I wonder whether that'll be part of the plan next time around.
So
no, I don't think we're going to mix it up massively.
Then West Brom, away at West Brom next weekend, and
Pods!
West Brom. Huh?
It's not Tony Pulis. Tony Pulis is not. I suddenly thought, West Brom is going to be tough, but physical, blah blah blah. But he's gone.
It's Guardiola.
Yeah.
That's the thing. No English managers ever get a chance, except if you're Allardyce and Guardiola.
I said this last week. I'll say it again.
Or Hodgson.
Sam does not belong in this category. Big Sam Allardyce does not belong in this same category as Hodgson, Pardew, Moyes, all of them. Big Sam.
Moyes.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing all right, Moisey. Oh, man.
Should we take... I've got a question for you, Ed. Do you think that will, A, continue in an upward trajectory and they will achieve glory and exceed expectations, or B, it will implode in itself in a vacuum of painful negativity?
It does really, really well, and after Klopp's got fired in the summer, he gets the Liverpool job. That's what I hope.
Oh, that would be good.
Anyway, let's talk about West Brom with Guardiola in charge. West Brom are dreadful.
No big Pardew bounce. Basically, what happened was they sold Darren Fletcher, and if you do sell Darren Fletcher, this is what will happen to you.
Well, I think he left on a free.
Okay.
I'm not sure they had a choice or wanted to have a choice about that one. They're probably going to lose Johnny Evans, though, aren't they, in the winter? It looks like some bids coming in for the world's fifth best central defender.
I know we make fun. You love to make fun of me about this, but
he's a high quality defender. He's better than West Brom. He's better than West Brom.
Yeah. He's better than most of Man United's central defenders.
Ouch.
He's better than 2 of Man United's central defenders.
I don't know. I mean,
he's definitely better than 1. Definitely. And Mark, he's not better than... Well, actually, peak Marcus Rocco and peak Johnny Evans are probably at quite a similar level. It's just which one of them is at that peak level more often, and that's a toss-up, I reckon.
Anyway, they are bad, West Brom. They are really, really bad. They were bad at Swansea, even under Guardiola. They basically deservedly lost that one. I thought Swansea were much better. And they played in this kind of weird 4-3-3 that they had been playing before. Doesn't work for them. With a lot of very bad players that don't really work for them. They are sinking fast.
And couldn't happen to a nicer egomaniac, could it? I mean, I've never met Alan Pardew, but my goodness, if half the stories are true. You know the King story. You know the King story, right? This is many of our listeners will know this story from other podcasts. From generally, it's out there. He was having lunch with a journalist. I think this was at Palace, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been Newcastle. The journalist orders something from lunch, and Pardew says, "Oh, I think if yours is nicer than mine, I'll have that." And the journalist goes, "You can't do that." And Alan Pardew says, "When you're the king, you can do what you like." Now, I didn't hear that story firsthand. I'm just repeating a story I've heard many other times for the sake of libel lawyers. And also the details may be inaccurate, but that is definitely the gist of it.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to rub off some of that confidence on his team. He lost at Swansea, drew with Palace, drew in Newcastle, drew with Tottenham, got smashed by Chelsea, got smashed by Huddersfield, got smashed by City, got smashed by Southampton.
So 2-2 draw incoming when they play the game of their lives.
I mean, look, seriously, without Pogba, there's obviously a problem. United's midfield doesn't seem to function. But if there are not two games better than home to Bournemouth, who will not part the bus, at least not well, and away to West Brom side that has absolutely no confidence at all at the moment, then these have got to be the right games to bounce back from that City result.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? For some reason, I'm more confident about this game than I am about the West Brom, but they're so bad. We weren't in absolutely brilliant nick when we went to them last Christmas. Weird. It's the game before Christmas last time as well. Although I think actually there's another game on the 23rd, if I'm not much mistaken. Let me just quickly look that up because that might slightly affect how all this plays out. There's in fact 2 games. We're playing 4 games between now and Christmas. In fact, we should talk about this.
Busy schedule, although there's the League Cup game at Bristol, but it's not a difficult schedule, is it? I mean, actually don't play another of the top teams till the end of January now.
So we're playing Bournemouth on Wednesday, West Brom on Sunday, Bristol on Wednesday away in Leicester on the 23rd, home on the 26th against Burnley, which actually they are good now, aren't they? Weirdly,
that's true.
Southampton on the Saturday, Everton on the Monday. That is absolutely brutal. Southampton and then Everton back to back. Like that Everton game is going to be such a low quality game on the 1st of January.
Players come back hungover. Yeah, there's definitely been a few games down the years where that's happened.
QPR, as we always talk about on this show,
and Spurs.
Very special to me, that QPR game.
Although that Spurs game was blessed by William Prunier.
The Spurs game the other year under Van Gaal, remember that? A really good first half, and then none of the players could run in the second half. And Mourinho and Van Gaal said, "This is not football. This is a war," or something like that. We're playing 2 games a week, and then sort of 3 games in a week, every week between now and the next time we've got a midweek clear. For now, is the week commencing the 8th of January, which I guess that might even get a fixture. So yeah, it's going to be an absolutely ram schedule, which does make me think that maybe in that Bournemouth game we will start to see a bit more like deliberate rotation. So we'll see games where Lingard and Rashford and Martial play, and then games where Mkhitaryan and Mata play, and maybe even a start somewhere along the way for Ibrahimovic, who doesn't look ready to start, I have to say.
No, he doesn't. Although that game at Bristol may well be a good one for him to do that. He was left out the other week because he was fatigued, so obviously been training hard. I think you're right. I think this is the time you do start to rotate, and then of course after Christmas comes the FA Cup and back into the Champions League in early February.
Hopefully that the season won't just peter out, and we'll have some silverware to fight for. But and it's rubbish to be saying this because we're so spoiled and used to being Man United, and there has been all this investment and whatever. But like I said, second is a big improvement on 5th and 6th and 7th, isn't it? So, it's something.
Yeah, we are spoiled, but it's not going to win the league this year, so that'll be 5 years. And there are probably some 15-year-olds out there that don't remember the last United League victory or something like that.
I reckon the 15-year-olds do it. The 10-year-olds, though, it would be pretty vague for them, I guess.
Wow.
Certainly there's people going there's probably people that have had a season ticket for 2 seasons that don't remember us winning the league now.
Well, my 4-year-old doesn't, although he does, good for him, ask who the bad guys are and what colour they'll be wearing, so I tell him.
Good. I'm glad the indoctrination is finally working. It's taken a long time, hasn't it?
It has, but as has this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
An hour of negativity and doom.
I mean, I don't feel any doom whatsoever about the upcoming games. I think we'll beat Bournemouth comfortably. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was another game where we score 3 or 4. And then I guess let's do predictions. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win over Bournemouth and a 2-0 win over West Brom.
Wow. 2 clean sheets as well. Although that's about right, actually, because United are pretty ship-shape at the back. So, I'm going to go for 4-0 against Bournemouth because we always score 4. And let's call it 3-2 at West Brom because Pardiola banter's got to happen sometime.
Okay. All right. Good. We'll be back with another one of these. Next week we'll just do as normal. Christmas will be a bit patchy, obviously, because it's Christmas and Ed's away, and we'll do what we can do. But we'll definitely be back after the West Brom game. We'll speak to you then.
See you then.
The Rantcast is produced by Tom Jenkins and supported by listeners like you. Head to patreon.com/Rantcast to find out more.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.